This gets brought up even today, and it's this misconception that there is somehow darkness is the originator. It's not light. That darkness can't exist. Like that light can't exist without dark. Well, it's like, okay, which one comes first, light or dark? And that's kind of the metaphysics in my head is working out to, or I don't know, philosophy in my head is working out towards that angle of things, in which a lot of people think that darkness is what starts us off. No, it's light. The reason I can so boldly claim that.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Less Heresy Than Expected podcast, brought to you by Icons Regospeled, a nonprofit resharing the true gospel of grace for all mankind to the icons of God. There's something about an all-loving Father throwing people or even allowing them to be tortured for eternity has never quite sat right with you, or if you're simply curious about different perspectives that still take Jesus seriously, we'd invite you to be part of the conversation by following us and the guests that we sit down with. And if this gooder gospel, this fully grace-filled, this genuinely for all people message feels like the air that you also breathe, we may have made the perfect conversation starter for you to take with you throughout your day. You can find it in our merch store, linked in the description below. And with that, let's get back to the conversation.
Cosmological argument says that you are the effect of some cause, and that cause was the effect of some other cause, and so on and so forth, until you get to this, that you get so far back, not just within humanity, not just within the creation of the world, not just within the universe, but to this point where logic starts to break down. It's illogical to say that all finite things, that is the material universe that we can physically see, is somehow infinite in and of itself. That does not make sense logically, to say that the finite is infinite in and of itself. No, it comes from an uncaused causer, an unmoved mover. This uncaused causer, unmoved mover, must have been its ontology, its being, must be a light. I know Cliff, I can't ever say his last name, Cliff Nechtel. He goes around to campuses and teaches and whatnot. He has this thing, I love it so much. He says this, I think it's the six miracles my non-believer friends believe in. One of the things that he references is that life comes from non-life. That is one of the six things that his non-believer friends, one of the six miracles that his non-believer friends believe in. That life comes from non-life. Well, if this unmoved mover, if this uncaused causer is the source of life, then there is no darkness. Life doesn't come from the dark, it comes from the light. So all this to say is that, well, why shouldn't I just continue to sin? Right? If it just makes, his grace abound more. Well, his grace abounds regardless. His grace is the uncaused causer of it all. His grace is the originator. His light is the origination of us. And so why would you continue to seek after something that is uncreating rather than seek after the original thing that's there? It doesn't need your help to abound.
Yeah, so I want to touch on that and see if I can explain something that I was trying to explain in that first verse again, maybe to make it a little bit clearer. How shall we who died to sin continue in it? Yeah. Or how shall we who died to sin still live in it? The way I see that working out practically is that grace is reduced to God getting you out of a situation, or simply God giving you the strength to do something. That you don't understand that there's actually any change in your nature, but grace is something external, even to God. It's something He gives you to be able to do something. And when you have that thought, that concept of grace, what that actually does is it creates a cycle where you stay locked in this loop of hard work, failure, hard work, success, hard work, failure, hard work, success, hard work, failure.
Well, don't we have to work?
You know, but it bypasses the reality of who we are. And grace becomes something that is a tool versus something that we actually live and breathe in. We, as John Crowder might say, we live in Mr. Grace.
Yeah.
You know, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ, and we have been put in him. 1 Corinthians chapter 1 at the end. By his doing, you are in Christ Jesus, who has become for us all these things that we need. And that is grace. So this understanding of not being bound or held to sin or in sin's condition any longer is really, if we can understand that, we'll come out of this vicious cycle and we'll understand who we truly are. And I think that's also key to understanding Romans chapter 7. Now, something else you were saying a minute ago about the light from darkness and all this sort of thing. I think we also have to realize that darkness is just as much a part of creation as light is. When we're talking about the manifestation of light, you know, and the reality of darkness, those are creations. Okay? So those two things, I would say they came into existence together at the same time. Now, here's where I'm going to deviate a little bit. Bishop Chris Green recently said, God is not a cause, he is a creator. And that puts
God... that empathizes it in a way.
Well, I think when you say God is the causer or the cause, you have somehow put him on the same plane.
I see.
Yeah, and he's totally other.
Right.
Did he cause us to come into being? Yes, but he is first and foremost Father and Creator, the Almighty Creator, and this is the faith of the early church. So to say that then. To answer your question a little bit more specifically now, light does come first because he is light. He is the creator.
Right.
And then light, as we understand it in the natural and, you know, scientifically speaking, the human eye and, you know, and the human ears, they only perceive an extremely small fraction of the spectrum on either two of those things, magnetic or I'm not sure what you refer to the sound, you know, aspect in science.
Sure.
But we only hear a very small percentage of what's actually there in creation, you know. But you know, the Bible clearly says, you know, well, you clearly don't perceive the fullness that is there in creation. It's not possible.